Hi everybody, welcome back to more of Storytime with Grandma Kate. We're going to read another George and Martha today. This one's called One Fine Day. I'll show you the pictures here. One fine day. They're having a little tea party. Maybe they're having lunch together. I don't know. We'll find out. 5 stories about 2 best friends. Story number 1, The Tightrope. One morning, when George looked out his window, he could scarcely believe his eyes. Martha was walking on a tightrope. "My stars!" cried George. "I could never do that." "Why not?" said Martha. "It's tons of fun." "But it's so high up," said George. "Yes," said Martha. "And it's such a long way down," said George. "Oh, that's very true," said Martha. "It would be quite a fall," said George. "Oh, I see what you mean," said Martha. Suddenly, Martha felt uncomfortable. For some reason, she had lost all her confidence, and she began to wobble. Like losing her balance there. George realized his mistake. Now he had to do some fast talking. "Of course," he said, "anyone can see you love walking the tightrope." "Oh, yes?" said Martha. "Certainly," said George, "and if you love what you do, you'll be very good at it, too." Martha's confidence was restored. "Watch this," she said. Martha did some fancy footwork on her tightrope. George kind of made her scared at first, but then he helped her feel better about it by saying that she's good at it. Story number 2, The Diary. Do you know what a diary is? It's like a journal, and it's usually private. If you keep a journal or a diary, you don't share it with other people. We'll find out what happens when George wants to read Martha's diary. Whenever Martha sat down to write in her diary, George was always nearby. "Yes, George," said Martha. "I was just on my way to the kitchen," said George. Said Martha. Martha decided to finish writing outdoors. "How peculiar," she said to herself. "I can still smell George's cologne." Then Martha heard leaves rustling above her. "George is up in the tree, I think." "Aha!" she cried. "You were spying on me." "I wanted to see what you're writing in your diary," said George. "You should have asked my permission," said Martha. "May I peek in your diary?" asked George politely. What do you think Martha's going to say? "No," said Martha. She walked away. "Would you let someone read your diary?" "I don't let anybody read mine, not even Papa, because that's my private thoughts. Even though I don't really write a diary anymore, so." Story number 3, The Icky Story. Icky means like gross, yuck. At lunch, George started to tell an icky story. Martha strongly objected. That means she said, "Stop it, I don't want to hear any icky story." Probably because she's eating. "Please have some consideration," she said. But George told his icky story nonetheless. "You're asking for it," said Martha. What she's going to do. When Martha finished lunch, she told an icky story. It was so icky that George felt all queasy inside. He couldn't even eat his dessert. "You're the champ," said George. "Don't make me do it again," said Martha. "I won't," said George. Wonder what icky story she told. I can imagine lots of icky things. Story number 4 is called The Big Scare. Oh, cried George. Have mercy, screamed Martha. Martha and her stamp collection went flying. I'm sorry, said George. I was feeling wicked. Well, said Martha, now it's my turn. Go ahead, said George. Oh, not right away, said Martha slyly. Just imagine. She's thinking, well, no, I'm not going to get you now when you expect it. Suddenly, George found it very difficult to concentrate on what he was doing. Oh, any minute now, Martha's going to scare the pants off of me, he said to himself. You think she will right away? I don't know. If it were me, I would be waiting a little bit till he forgot about it. Maybe she's hiding someplace, he said. George made sure that Martha wasn't hiding under the sink. During the day, George got more and more nervous. Whew, any minute now, he said. But Martha was relaxing in her hammock. Oh, I'm sorry I forgot to scare you, said Martha. That's all right, said George. It wouldn't have worked anyway. I'm not easily frightened. I know, said Martha. And this is called The Last Story, the Amusement Park. It's like a carnival. That evening, George and Martha went to the amusement park. They rode the Ferris wheel. They rode the roller coaster. They rode the bump cars. They were having a wonderful time. But in the tunnel of love, Martha sat very quiet. It was very dark in there. Suddenly, Martha called, "Boom!" "Have mercy!" screamed George. "I didn't forget after all," said Martha. "So I see," said George. That's the end of that story. Martha, I think, she's very sly. She's very smart. And she knows how to wait for things. She's very patient, I think. Anyway, hope you have a great day, everybody. I will see you at our next story time. I believe we have 2 more George and Marthas to go, and I'll add them to the playlist so you can watch them over and over again. Have a great day.